Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. I'm your host, Mike Williams, and here's my co-host, Jeffrey.
Good afternoon, Bay Nation.
Today, we're going to be going over the Week 12 matchups. We've already had 2 games played on Thanksgiving, so we got another 14. This is going to be a full slate. There are no bye weeks this week, so there's going to be a lot of games. Don't forget, if you want to see a specific game, just hover your mouse at the bottom of the screen and it'll take you right there, or you can look in the description and it has timestamps that'll bring you to the exact game you want to see. Alright, Jeffrey, I think that we're ready. Let's get it started.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this matchup, we're going to be going over the Raiders versus Falcons. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Las Vegas Raiders are traveling to Atlanta to face the Falcons. The spread is -3.5 Raiders. Weather does not factor into this game because the Falcons play in a dome. There are a couple of injuries to discuss. For the Falcons, wide receiver Julio Jones is a game-time decision with a hamstring injury. Running back Todd Gurley is out for this matchup with a knee injury.
Oh, that is unfortunate. Oh man, I do not like Julio Jones being game-time decision. Now, if you've had Julio Jones, you know this is what happens with Julio. He does this. He's a game-time decision at least a few games a year. Hamstring injuries. He normally plays through it. If he's healthy and he decides to play, or if the team decides that he will play, I will be playing him. I have to make that decision in my league, and I will play him if he plays. He's too big of a threat. And Todd Gurley being out is very unfortunate. You know what? Let's get into the Falcons. Starting at the top. If Julio plays, I think you can play Matt Ryan. I know he had a terrible game last week, but the Raiders don't really scare me. And on top of that, Matt Ryan with the healthy Julio is solid. But if Julio doesn't play, don't play Matt Ryan. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Julio plays, you play him. Calvin Ridley is a must start every week. Fire him up. If Julio is out, Ahmad Zakaris is going to be filling in. And I think he's a desperation flex play at best. I'm not really trying to start him. Next, we have the running back position. Like you heard, Todd Gurley is out. Brian Hill will probably be filling in for him, but I'm not really too excited to start Brian Hill. If you have a better option, I would definitely start them, obviously. Next, moving on to the tight end. With Julio out, I don't trust Hayden Hurst as much. The offense moves better when Julio's there, and that helps the entire offense, including Todd Gurley, including Hayden Hurst. If Julio's not there, it's going to hurt Hayden Hurst. That was a tongue twister. Next, we have the defense. No thank you. Kicker, yes, you can absolutely start him. He's a beast. Next, moving on to the Raiders. Derek Carr, I think, is a fine start in this matchup. Falcons are terrible against the quarterback position, so fire up your Derek Carr. Have him as a top 10 play this week. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Nelson Aguilar is really the only one I'm trying to start in this matchup. I like him as a flex play with upside. He's always a touchdown threat, and he's finally starting to get some more targets. Next, we have the running back position. You're going to fire up Josh Jacobs every week. Next, we have the tight end. Darren Waller is a must-start every week, of course. Then we have the defense. No. Kicker. Yeah, you can absolutely play their kicker. All right, time to pick this matchup. There's too many injuries for the Falcons. It's a 3.5-point spread. I'm going to take the Raiders. I like the Raiders in this one because Atlanta's banged up. They're not playing great, and the Raiders are looking pretty good. All right, I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Chargers versus the Bills. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Los Angeles Chargers are traveling to Buffalo to face the Bills. The spread is -5.5 Bills. Weather should not be an issue in this game, but winds will be between 12 and 14 miles per hour. In regards to injuries, for the Chargers, running backs Austin Eckler and Kalen Ballage are both questionable in this game. For the Bills, wide receiver John Brown is out in this game with an ankle injury.
Shoot, that's unfortunate about John Brown, but I am pleased that Austin Eckler is questionable. He was on IR, coming off IR. I am very happy to see that he is approaching his return. If he does return, it's going to be amazing. All right, so let's start with the Bills because they're the home team. Let's start with the must-starts. Josh Allen's a must-start. He's a beast. Stephon Diggs a must-start. He's great. And that pretty much ends the must-starts for the Bills. At the wide receiver position, other than Stephon Diggs, I like Cole Beasley, especially when John Brown's out. When John Brown is out, Cole Beasley plays much better, I think that he's a flex with upside, some serious upside. Next, we have the running back position. I'm really not excited to start either of them, but if I had to pick between Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, I'm picking Zach Moss. He gets the goal line carries, and Devin Singletary has not proven anything to me. Next, I'm not starting a tight end. I don't want to start a defense, and I'm whatever about the kicker. Next, we're moving on to the Chargers. So, starting at the top. So, the players that are going to be must starts. You have Justin Herbert, quarterback. He's a beast. Wide receiver, Keenan Allen. And I'm throwing in Mike Williams because I think he's going to be a fine play as well. This is probably going to be a high-scoring game. Running backs. If Austin Eckler plays, I'm nervous about how much they give him. Also, with Kalen Ballage a little dinged up. If Eckler's out, you can start Ballage. If Ballage is out and Eckler plays, I think you can start Eckler as a flex play with serious upside depending on how much they want to give him when he just got back. Next, we have the tight end position. You start Hunter Henry because tight end landscape is terrible, and Hunter Henry is a tight end and not complete garbage. Next, we have the defense. No kicker. Nah, not really. All right, time to pick this game. 5.5 point favorites to the Bills. 5.5 is solid. I feel like the Chargers have been losing their games close, so I'm going to pick the Chargers on this one. I think that they put up a fight and don't lose by almost a touchdown. All right, Jeffrey, I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Bengals versus the Giants. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The New York Giants are traveling to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. The spread is -5.5 Giants. Weather should not be an issue in this game. There are a few major injuries to discuss. For the Giants, running back, Devontae Freeman, is still on injured reserve. For the Bengals, quarterback, Joe Burrow, is out for the season with a multiple ligament knee injury. Brandon Allen will be starting at quarterback. Running back, Giovanni Bernard, is questionable with a concussion.
Yikes! That Joe Burrow injury was terrible. I like Joe Burrow. I had him in a couple of leagues, but even taking that out, I just liked him as a prospect. Just in the NFL in general, it's very sad to see him go down. I wish him a great recovery, and I hope that he comes back next year even stronger. He was a great rookie. All right, let's get it started with the Bengals. Starting at the top, we're not starting a quarterback. Brandon Allen is not worth starting, trust me. Next, we have the running back position. Giovanni Bernard, still getting over a concussion, and even if he does play, I'm not excited about him. I have him as a flex play. Next, we have the wide receiver position, and huge downgrade without Joe Burrow. I think that the only one I'm really kind of comfortable about is Tyler Boyd, and I have him as a flex play. Same thing with T. Higgins. I think that you can play them, but I'm really not excited about the production that they're going to be giving you, and the Giants are much better defensively than most people give them credit for. Next, we have the tight end position. No. Defense, no. Kicker, no. All right, moving to the Giants. Daniel Jones. I don't have Daniel Jones as like a top play or anything, but as a desperation play, the Bengals are not good, and they have a backup quarterback, so I'm assuming that Daniel Jones is going to be in some positive game scripts, and I think that he can get a little bit done on his legs and some done with his arms. If you're desperate, you can play Daniel Jones. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, I think, are both flex plays with upside. Slayton could always get something deep, and I think that Sterling Shepard has a solid floor. He's getting the targets and the receptions, just not crazy high yardage. Next, we have the running back position. Fire at Wayne Gallman. He's been a beast since he's been starting for the Giants. Next, we have the tight end, Evan Ingram. I think that you can start Evan Ingram in this game, have him as a top 10 play. Even though the Bengals are one of the best teams against the tight end, at least recently, I'm not too concerned about that. I think they're going to be very bad this week, so I think that Evan Ingram can get it done. The Giants defense, I also think, is a solid streamer, so fire them up. And the kicker, I'm not really excited about him, but I think that they should be in a positive game script, so it might actually be solid. Time to pick this game, 5.5 point spread. I am surprised I'm taking this 5.5 point spread, but with no Joe Burrow and maybe no Giovanni Bernard or Joe Mixon, I think that the Bengals are just going to be terrible. So I'm going with the Giants in this one. All right, on to the next one. In this matchup, we're going to be going over the Jaguars versus the Browns. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Cleveland Browns are traveling to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. The spread is -6.5 Browns. Weather should not be an issue in this game. There are a few major injuries to discuss. For the Jaguars, quarterback Gardner Minshew is still out for this game with a thumb injury. Jake Luton has been benched. Mike Glennon will be the starting quarterback. Wide receivers DJ Chark and Chris Conley are both out in this game.
DJ Chark out for this game. He is having a rough year so far. Alright, let's get it started. Starting with the Jaguars, they're the home team. Honestly, I'm going to make this quick. The only person I'm even thinking about starting on the Jaguars is James Robinson. I think you can still fire him up. It's not the best matchup, but he's really all they have. So I think you can fire him up. Moving on to the Browns. And I was not joking. That's all I want to talk about. Don't play anybody else from that team. Moving on to the Browns. I'm not playing Baker Mayfield, though I do think that he is going to get better. He's finally getting a game that's not going to be torrential downpour. But I'm not playing him. Next, moving on to the wide receivers. No, thank you. I'm not really trying to play any of them. Jarvis Landry would be the only one that you could even look at, and he's a flex play at best. Next, we have the running back position. Fire up both of them, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Both. Nick Chubb is an absolute monster. He ran so hard last week. He's just a really good running back in general. And Kareem Hunt is always a threat to catch some balls and possibly fall into the end zone. They used him around the goal line last week. Next, we have the tight end, and I think you can fire up Austin Hooper. I have him as a top 10 play this week for sure. Next, we have the defense. Play the defense against the Jaguars. They are horrific right now. Next, we have the kicker. I'm not a big fan of the kicker, but you can play him if you want. All right, time to pick this game. Like Jeffrey said, 6.5 point favorites to the Browns, and I'm going Browns. Jaguars are already not very good, and now they're going to have their backup quarterback play? No, thank you. And they're missing 2 wide receivers? No. Jaguars should lose this game, and the Browns should run all over them. All right, I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we'll be going over the Titans versus the Colts. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Tennessee Titans are traveling to Indianapolis to face the Colts. The spread is -3.5 Colts. Weather does not factor into this game because the Colts play in a dome. In regards to injuries, for the Colts, running back Jonathan Taylor is on the COVID-19 list and is questionable for this game.
Yikes, that is not a good sign. All right, you know what? Let's start with the Colts. I'm not starting Phillip, even though Phillip Rivers has been mad these last couple weeks. Not too bad, but I'm not really trying to start him in this matchup. Next, we'll move on to the wide receiver position. Michael Pittman Jr. is the only one I'm trying to start and have him as a flex play with upside. Next, we have the running back position, and like Jeffrey said, Jonathan Taylor could miss this game because he's on the COVID-19 list. Now, if he plays, I think you can play him as a low-end running back 2, high-end flex play. I also think the same with Nyheim Hines. I think he can be played as well, especially if Jonathan Taylor's out. If Jonathan Taylor's out, you got to fire up Nyheim Hines because I definitely think he gets involved a lot. Next, we have the tight end position. No defense. Yeah, I think you can play them against the Titans. The Titans are pretty good offensively, but I do think the Colts defense is incredible. Next, we have the kicker. You absolutely fire up the Colts kicker every week. Next, going to the Titans. Starting at the top. Ryan Tannehill is not the best start in this matchup. The Colts are very good defensively. Unfortunate that he's having these 3 back-to-back terrible matchups. Colts, Ravens, Colts, terrible. Anyways, so I'm not trying to play him this week. Moving on to running back position, you fire up Derrick Henry every single week. Wide receiver, you fire up A.J. Brown, and I'm not excited about Corey Davis, but I do think if you're desperate, you can't play him. He has been playing well in some tough matchups, so I think that he can be played, but if you have a better option, obviously go there. Next, we have the tight end position, and Jonnu Smith is relevant because he gets touchdowns. So I think that he's still relevant as a top 12 play. Tight end is a terrible, terrible, terrible position this year. But if you can get a touchdown, you're relevant. So Jonnu Smith, fire him up if you need him. Next, we have the Titans defense. No. Kicker, no. Trying to pick this game. This game's actually really difficult for me. I'm not too certain about it. I do think it's going to be close. Who to choose? They're at home. They beat Baltimore in overtime. They just beat Green Bay in overtime. 3.5. 3.5. If it was 2.5, I think I'd go Colts. But 3.5, I feel like they could keep it within a field goal. I'm going Titans, and I'm not too happy about it. I'm not going to lie to you. Not too excited about that. I like the matchup. I'm actually really excited to see this game. Two very good teams, 7-3. I think it's going to be a fight till the end. But I feel like the Titans lose by a field goal. I don't know if they lose by more than a field goal. I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going over the Jets versus the Dolphins. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Miami Dolphins are traveling to New York to face the Jets. The spread is -6.5 Dolphins. Weather should not be an issue in this game. In regards to injuries, for the Dolphins, running back Matt Breida and Myles Gaskins are questionable for this game. Salvon Ahmed is out in this game with a shoulder injury. For the Jets, quarterback Sam Darnold is back in the starting lineup. Running backs Lamical Perine is on injured reserve with a high ankle sprain.
It's not good. Sam Darnold's back. That's interesting. I'm actually not even sure if that's good for his fantasy output or the people on his team. But let's get it started with the Jets. No one's starting Sam Darnold. Keep him moving. Moving on to the wide receiver position, the only one I'm really looking at with Sam Darnold there is Jamison Crowder. Perriman had been looking pretty good with Joe Flacco, and so same with Mims, but not with Sam Darnold. So neither of them are relevant. Jamison Crowder is a flex play with possible upside. Moving on. Next to the running back position, P. Ryan is out, so Frank Gore, desperation flex play if you need it. Next, the tight end position, no. Defense, no. Kicker, no. All right, moving on to the Dolphins, and I actually just got some news. Tua is actually questionable, moved down to doubtful with a thumb injury. Now, this is going to be interesting because Ryan Fitzpatrick has been playing very well. So if he plays, that could change my opinion on a couple of things. So let's get into it. Moving on to the wide receiver position, I think that you can play Devontae Parker regardless of the quarterback, but if it's Fitzpatrick, I actually give an upgrade to Devontae Parker because the connection between Fitzpatrick and Devontae Parker is much better. Running back position, I mean, it's last man standing at this point, especially if Gaskins and Matt Breida can't play with Salvon Ahmed out and they already let go Jordan Howard. That's not looking good. I'm staying away from that backfield. Next, we're going to the tight end position, and I think that Mike Gesicki could get a little bit of work, especially with the running backs being injured. So I have him as a low-end tight end starter. Next, we have the defense. I'm still firing up the Miami defense against the Jets. They're still the Jets. Next, the kicker, and I think that you can actually play the kicker too. All right, time to pick this game. 6.5 points to Miami. There's too much uncertainty with Miami, and the Jets suck, but I don't think that they lose by a touchdown. Not super confident about this one, I'm not going to lie to you. The Jets are bad. There's a lot of chaos in Miami, so I just don't see it being a blowout. All right, I think that that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. Man, it does not feel good to pick the Jets. In this matchup, we're going over the Vikings versus the Panthers. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Carolina Panthers are traveling to Minnesota to face the Vikings. The spread is -4.5 Vikings. Weather does not factor into this game because the Vikings play in a dome. In regards to injuries, for the Vikings, wide receiver Adam Thielen is not expected to play due to COVID-19. Tight end Irv Smith is questionable with a groin injury. For the Panthers, quarterback Teddy Bridgewater is active for this game and is expected to play. Running back Christian McCaffrey is out in this matchup with a shoulder injury.
Christian McCaffrey, I don't know if he crushed you this year, but he has hurt me at #1 pick in one league. And all I needed was Christian McCaffrey to come back and be his normal self, and I would have coasted to the playoffs. I had somehow won 5 games in his absence. All I needed was a couple more wins to make the playoffs. Now I am scratching and clawing to get there instead of coasting. But I'm sure all of you are dealing with your own issues anyways. So, starting with the Vikings. Starting at the top. I don't think Kirk Cousins is a great start this week, but if you're desperate, I do think he can be a fine starter. Adam Thielen being gone is really going to hurt him, though. So, hopefully Adam Thielen can play. I know that he's on the COVID reserve list, so there's a chance he doesn't play. If he plays, I think that Kirk Cousins is going to be much better. If he doesn't play, I'm really not looking Kirk Cousins' way. Next, we have the wide receiver position. If Thielen plays, you play him. If not, obviously you don't. Justin Jefferson, I think that he's playable regardless of whether Adam Thielen is in or out. Next, running back Dalvin Cook's one of the best in the league. You're playing him every week. Not worried about the tight end. No thank you to the defense. And no thank you to the kicker. Next, we have the Carolina Panthers. Starting at the top. Teddy Bridgewater's back. That's awesome. Still not playing him. Next, we have the wide receiver position. DJ Moore, I think that you could fire him up as a wide receiver 2. Robbie Anderson has not been playing well in the past month and a half. He's actually like the 40th wide receiver in that time span. It's not been very good. So I do think that you can play him, but just don't be expecting wide receiver 2 upside. I have him as a flex play. Next, and you know what? Sorry, I almost skipped over Curtis Samuel. I think you can play Curtis Samuel as well as a flex play. Next, we have the running back position, and with Christian McCaffrey out, Mike Davis. I think you can fire up Mike Davis as a flex play with upside. Next, we have the tight end position. No defense, no kicker, no. All right, time to pick this game. 4.5 point spread. I still think that the Vikings can get it done. The Vikings have been pretty good, and I like Dalvin Cook. I just think that they're going to just run all over Carolina. So I think that they can win by a little over a field goal. All right, I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going over the Patriots versus the Cardinals. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Arizona Cardinals are traveling to New England to face the Patriots. The spread is -2.5 Cardinals. Weather should not be an issue in this game. In regards to injuries, for the Patriots, Rex Burkhead is out for the season with a knee injury.
That's rough. That's really rough. I like Rex Burkhead in general. It's unfortunate that he's not going to be able to play in this one, but such is football, I guess. All right, starting with the home team, the Patriots. I think that Cam Newton is playable in this matchup. He's not top 12 play for me, but he's right outside of that. I do think that he can be played in this one, though. Next, moving on to the wide receiver. The only one I'm really trying to start is Jacoby Myers, and I'm not really excited about it. He wasn't featured last week, and Bird got most of the targets and a bunch of yards. I'm not trusting Bird. I'm really not trusting Myers, but I do think you can play Myers. Next, we have the running back position, Damian Harris. I think you could fire him up as a running back 2. Next, we have the tight ends. No, thank you. Defense, no. Kicker, no. Moving on to the Cardinals. Kyler Murray's a little dinged up. He's got a shoulder injury, but he's going to play. I still think you can fire him up. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Obviously, you're starting DeAndre Hopkins. And I think that Christian Kirk is a flex play. Not super excited about it, but I do think that he could fall in that flex territory. Next, we have the running back. I think you can play both Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds. Kenyon Drake as a running back 2. Chase Edmonds as a flex play. No thank you to the tight end. Defense is okay, but I'm not excited about it. And kicker, I think you can fire him up. All right, time to pick this game. 2.5 point spread. Give me the Cardinals. I just think that the Cardinals are a good all-around team, and the Patriots are really just piecing it together. All right, I think that that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. Up next, we have the Steelers versus the Ravens. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are traveling to Baltimore to face the Ravens. The spread is -3.5 Steelers. Weather should not be an issue in this game. There are a few major injuries to discuss. For the Ravens, quarterback Lamar Jackson and running backs Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins are on the COVID-19 list and will be out for this game. For the Steelers, Juju Smith-Schuster is questionable with a foot injury.
Man, Lamar's out. Both the top running backs are out. Juju's banged up from stepping on a flag. Oh, man, it sucks. All right, well, for those of you who don't know, this game was moved from Thanksgiving to Sunday and Sunday to now Tuesday. So we get a Tuesday night game. Not too bad. More football on more days. I'm about it. All right, so let's get started with the home team, the Ravens. With Lamar Jackson out, I'm not touching the quarterback. Wide receivers, I don't want any of them, even if Lamar Jackson was playing. And moving on to the running back, Gus Edwards, I think, is a flex play. You could definitely fire him up. Terrible matchup with the Steelers, but he should get the touches, which that's what really matters. Next, we have the tight end position in Mark Andrews with this new quarterback. I'm not super excited about him, but he's a tight end and he qualifies. So I think you can start him because you're going to go to your best players. And Mark Andrews is clearly one of their best players. So I do think that you can play him. Next, we have the defense. You know, I'm not even trying to play the Ravens defense now because I don't know how competitive the Ravens are going to be. They could just get rolled by the Steelers. But I still think that there's a chance that they're a solid play. There might be a turnover or two. Next, we have the kicker, Justin Tucker, and this is not a good matchup because I don't know how much they're going to score, but if they get down the field, they'll kick it. So fire up Justin Tucker. Next, moving on to the Steelers. Big Ben starting at the top at quarterback position. I think you fire him up because his wide receivers are amazing. And next, we have the wide receivers. You start all three of them. Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, and I order it Deontay Johnson, Claypool, and Juju. Next, we have the running back position. James Conner is now on the COVID list. That is not good. So he's not going to be playing, so I think that moves up Benny Snell. I'm not super excited because the Ravens defense is still pretty solid. Next, moving on to the tight end position, I think you can fire up Eric Ebron. The defense is a must play against the Ravens. This is going to be defensive. This is going to be a very nice defensive game for the Steelers, for sure. Next, we have the kicker, and I think you can fire him up too. 3.5 point spread. Give me the Steelers. Ravens are too backed up to even compete in this one. I think it's going to be a pretty big win for the Steelers. And they'll sweep the Ravens for the year. All right, I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going over the Broncos versus Saints. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The New Orleans Saints are traveling to Denver to face the Broncos. The spread is -5.5 Saints. Weather should not be an issue in this game. There is one major injury to discuss. For the Broncos, wide receiver Jerry Jeudy is questionable in this game.
That's unfortunate. Jerry Jeudy's been okay this year. All right, starting with home team, Denver Broncos. So starting at the top, we're not starting Drew Lock. The Saints defense is incredible. I'm not playing him in that matchup, obviously. Moving on, wide receivers, Jerry Jeudy could be out. I wouldn't be playing him anyways. Tim Patrick, I think, is a flex play possibly. Next, we have the running back position, Melvin Gordon, flex play. Again, Saints run defense, beast. I'm not starting Phillip Lindsay. Moving on to the tight end position, Noah Fant is considered a tight end. He's been playing. I think that you can start him, but he's not as exciting as he was at the beginning of the year. He played much better in the first couple games and has not come back from that injury very well. Next, we have the defense, no. Kicker, no. All right, moving on to the Saints. Taysom Hill is still the quarterback, and I think that you can play him with his rushing upside. Had 2 rushing touchdowns last week, plus he had 50 yards on the ground, or more than 50 yards on the ground. I think that he is a solid start this week. You can definitely fire him up. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Michael Thomas seemed like his main target that he wanted to go to, so fire him up. Emmanuel Sanders is okay, but I'm not really excited about playing him. Next, we have the running back position, obviously starting Alvin Kamara. I know he didn't get very many targets last week, 1 specifically, but I do think that they get him more involved in this offense. Latavius Murray was looking like he was getting some work as well, so I think that he's a desperation flex play if you need him. Next, we have the tight end position, no thank you. Defense, absolutely. Kicker, for sure. All right, time to pick this game. 5.5 point spread. I'm going to go with the Saints on this one. I just think the defense is going to be too much for Drew Lock to handle. I think that the Saints' run defense is also going to do a great job at holding in Melvin Gordon. All right, so I think that's going to be enough for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we'll be going over the 49ers versus the Rams. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The San Francisco 49ers are traveling to Los Angeles to face the Rams. The spread is -6.5 Rams. Weather should not be an issue in this game. There are a few major injuries to discuss. For the 49ers, running back, Raheem Mostert, has come off of injured reserve and is questionable in this game. Tevin Coleman is out in this game. Wide receiver, Deebo Samuel, will play in this matchup.
Excellent. That's very good. I'm happy that Raheem Mostert's back, and it's unfortunate Tevin Coleman can't get on this field all year. Anyways, so starting with the Ravens, starting at the top, Jared Goff isn't a great play this week, but I do think that in a desperation you could play him, but if you don't have to, I wouldn't. Next, moving on to the wide receiver position, fire up Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. They looked amazing last week against the Bucs. Next, we have the running back position. I'm not excited about any of them. If I had to pick one, Darrell Henderson is a flex play. Other than that, I'm not playing those guys. Next is the tight end position, and I'm not playing any of them either. So move on. Defense, absolutely. They are going to be fantastic in this matchup, and I think you can play their kicker. Next, we have the 49ers, and not going to lie, I'm not playing anybody here. Raheem Mostert, if he does play, I wonder if they're going to ease him in. I just feel like this is going to be a rough game for the 49ers. The run defense is very good for the Rams, so I'm not really trying to start the running backs here. Deebo Samuel's coming off of an injury, plus he's going to be going against an amazing secondary for the Rams, so I'm really not trying to start the wide receivers here either. Next, we have the tight end, and I think that Jordan Reed is in play. I think that if you don't have anybody else, I think Jordan Reed could be solid this week. They have to throw it to somebody, and as long as Jordan Reed's healthy, I think that he's okay. Next, the defense, no. Kicker, no. All right, time to pick this game. This is actually a close game for me to pick. We got 6.5 points. I'm kind of worried about this one a little bit, but I think the Rams defense is going to do enough to where the offense can score, I don't know, probably 28 points. And I don't think that the 49ers keep up with that. All right, so I think that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going to go over the Chiefs versus the Bucs. Jeffrey, give me a rundown.
The Kansas City Chiefs are traveling to Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers. The spread is -2.5 Chiefs. Weather should not be an issue in this game. There are no major injuries in this game.
Heck yeah, no major injuries. That's what I'm talking about. All right, we're going to start with the Bucs because of the home team. Yes, I know it was a bad week last week for Tom Brady, but I'm firing him up again. I think this is going to be a nice back and forth. Tom Brady should be a solid start this week, so fire him up. Next, we have the wide receiver positions. I'm playing the three main ones. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown. Fire all three of them up. I think they're all three pretty much wide receiver 2 and flex play with upside. I think you could play all three of them and feel pretty solid about it. The Chiefs are very good against the wide receiver, but Mike Evans is huge. Chris Godwin's and Antonio Brown run great routes. I think that they all should be fine. Next, moving on to the running back position. Wow, last week was horrific. But I do think that Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette have moved out of the running back 2 and into the flex plays, but I think you can play them as flexes. I have Ronald Jones above Leonard Fournette. Next, we have the tight end position. I think you fire up Rob Gronkowski. Next, we have the defense, no thank you, and kicker, no. All right, moving on to the Chiefs. This is easy. Patrick Mahomes, you play. Tyreek Hill, you play. Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think that all of those are fine starts. If you really want to play the Chiefs, I think you can, but I like the Bucs offense too much to just throw in the Chiefs against them. Other than that, I'm really not trying to start anybody from the Chiefs. So I think that's going to do it for this. Time to pick this matchup. 2.5 point favorites to the Chiefs. I'm going with the Chiefs. Bucs lost to the Rams last week. The Chiefs are amazing, and I don't even know what else you want me to say other than they're the champs for a reason. They're amazing, so fire them all up. All right, that's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going over the Packers versus the Bears. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Chicago Bears are traveling to Green Bay to face the Packers. The spread is -8.5 Packers. Weather should not be an issue in this game, but winds will be between 12 and 13 miles per hour. There are a few major injuries to discuss. For the Bears, quarterback Nick Foles is out in this matchup. Mitchell Trubisky will be the starter. Running back David Montgomery has cleared the concussion protocol and is projected to play. For the Packers, wide receivers Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Alan Lazard are both questionable in this game.
Yikes. That's a lot to cover. It's unfortunate that these two wide receivers are questionable, but I'm really happy that David Montgomery is back. All right, we're going to start with the home team, and that's the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers, fire him up. He's a beast. Aaron Jones is a monster. Play him. Devontae Adams, also a beast. You play all three of them. So now let's get into the wide receivers that are questionable. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I don't think we were playing anyways, and Alan Lazard is a questionable play. If he does play, I think that he's a flex play at best. Bears defense is actually really good. Next, we have the tight end, Robert Tonyan. He's startable. If both the wide receivers are out, Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Alan Lazard, I think you could play Robert Tonyan. He should be a solid play in that case. Other than that, no thank you. Defense, yeah, I think you can play their defense against the Bears, especially with Mitchell Trubisky at the helm. And the kicker, I think you can play Mason Crosby as well. Next, we're going to the Bears. Bears. Starting at the top, nobody's playing Mitchell Trubisky because you're not crazy people. Next, we have the wide receiver, Allen Robinson. And you know what, let me just cut to the chase. Allen Robinson, you can play. And David Montgomery, I think that you can play as a flex play. Other than that, not touching any of them. Time to pick this game. 8.5 point spread. Yikes, that's a big spread, especially because the Bears' defense. Their offense isn't really concerning, but their defense is really good, so I think it may be slightly lower scoring, so I might go with the Bears. Ugh, this is not feeling good. I think that Green Bay will win this game, but 8.5 points is a lot. The Packers could win by a touchdown, but 8.5 is a decent amount. So I'm going to go with the Bears on this one. All right, I think that's going to do it for this. On to the next one. In this matchup, we're going over the Seahawks versus the Eagles. Jeffrey, give me the rundown.
The Seattle Seahawks are traveling to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. The spread is -5.5 Seahawks. My satellites show that there is a 15% chance of rain. Winds will be between 12 and 13 miles per hour. In regards to injuries, for the Seahawks, running back Chris Carson is questionable in this matchup. For the Eagle, tight end Zach Ertz is now off of injured reserve but is not expected to play.
Chris Carson's questionable, but what I've heard is actually that he should play. I think he's expected to play, and that would be amazing. If he plays, you fire him up. And Zach Ertz, even if he does play, I'm not playing him. All right, starting with the home team, the Eagles. Starting at the top, Carson Wentz. I am not excited about playing him, even though I like this matchup, because everybody plays well against the Seahawks, right? I think that you can start Carson Wentz, but there are probably like 15 other options that are better than him. So if you need him, I do think he can have an okay game, because the Seahawks give up a lot of yards. Next, we have the wide receivers. I'm not really excited about any of them. Desperation play. I think that Fulgham could get some more work. I know he's been extremely disappointing, but I have him as a flex play. Next, we have the running back position. Miles Sanders, I think you fire him up. Of course, you play him every week. Tight end, Dallas Goedert. I definitely think you fire him up in this matchup for sure, and I'm not touching the defense or the kicker. All right, moving on to the Seahawks. Russell Wilson's a beast. I know that he's had a couple down games, but you fire up Russell Wilson because he's great. Next, you have the wide receivers, and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are must-starts every week. Next, we have the running back position, Chris Carson. If Chris Carson plays, you play him. If he doesn't play, Carlos Hyde. Next, we have the tight end position, no defense. Yeah, I think you play defense against the Eagles. They have not been playing very well. And the kicker, if you want. I don't really normally start him. Now it's time to pick this game. 5.5 point spread. Seattle, and I'm going to go with the Seahawks. Why? Because I don't want to pick the Eagles against the Seahawks, because the Seahawks are a great team and the Eagles are Only relevant because they're in the worst division in the league. Alright, I think it's going to do it for this one. On to the next one. Alright, and that's going to do it for the Week 12 matchups. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you thought about the episode. What picks were right? What picks were way off? Let me know in the comments below. Good luck this week, Bay Nation. Peace.